Almost 1 year ago, I started knitting for the very first time. I was a beginner knitter. I had some experience in crochet and other fiber arts, but it was my very first time knitting. Here are 10 things I would say to my past self that was starting their knitting journey. I just think that without these 10 things, I don't know if I would have managed to keep on knitting and go on with learning and making projects and actually end a whole year of knitting with some pieces in my wardrobe, pieces I made. So I really hope these are helpful tips to guide you in your journey. And if you are a beginner knitter, the first thing I want to say is congrats, you are not giving up. If you're watching this video, it's because you need help, I think, or because you want some guidance and some tips. So you're very welcome here, and let's go. I will say, just as a tiny disclaimer, this is not your usual video where the tips are, oh yes, do not use straight needle, use circular needles. Yeah, not really. These are more my point of view of what I would have liked to heard when I started my journey. So I hope you agree with what I have to say, and I'm surely open to conversation in the comments. Starting off very strong, the first thing I want to tell you is be patient with tension. Tension is unique to everyone. I know people say don't death grip your yarn or don't have your yarn full of your needle. I totally understand, because you need good tension to work the stitches, but everyone is talking about this good tension as it's a mythical beast. Every knitter is different. You are going to meet lots of different knitters that refer to themselves as tight knitters or as loose knitters. I'm a loose knitter myself, and I didn't know before starting the journey and actually getting to understand what tension is. But the thing is, the more you practice, the more you are gonna get into a tension that's good for you. And that's not going to be the perfect tension, but when you find the flow, like when you can work your stitches into a way that's comfortable for your hands and like in a flow-like state of mind, that's good tension to me. Your tension will adjust in time as you learn different ways to make your knit stitches and your purl stitches, or to combine them, or to make more difficult and advanced garments and color work. The more you try new stuff, the more your hands will try to comprehend what's happening and adjust to what you're trying to make, so it's not gonna stay fixed in time. And that's why people say you should always watch for a project. To me, this first point is all about, it doesn't matter how you hold your yarn as long as you are comfortable, because in the beginning that's all that matters. My second point is your first pieces are gonna be interesting. It's incredibly common that your first pieces will not be as good as like the pictures on the pattern or the one you are referencing. So they may have some holes. Your tension may be a bit off. Something happened when they were trying to tell you increase or decrease, and stuff happens. And that's totally fine. When I started knitting, I just couldn't wrap my head around the purl stitches. The purl stitches were my arch nemesis. Well, they still are, but I just couldn't make them the way other people around me were, or tutorials I was watching online, so I could never move my hand in the same way. So when you are purling, you should, in the good and right way, you should use your left hand to move the yarn if you are a continental knitter like me. But for some reason I just could not move my left hand. I do think is because I was coming from crochet, so I was pretty used to move my right hand, but my left hand just had to hold the tension in the yarn. So I couldn't move my fingers. And so I used to purl by losing hold of my needle in my right hand, picking up the yarn and wrapping it around the needle, and then grab back the needle and make the stitch. And I made all my very first garments with that method, and they look like garments, they look like sweaters, so only I know that I was making a bad purl stitch. And yes, I tried Norwegian purl and reverse purl and all the other kind of purls, but the thing I'm saying is it's alright. It's alright. What feels comfortable is good, as we said in the first point. So you can try continental style knitting, you can try English style if that's what you prefer, is when you throw the yarn, as I was doing with my purl. So it was like combining a mix of the two. And you can try to look for other techniques of making the knit stitch or the purl stitch that will adjust to your hands. The third thing I would love to say to my beginner knitter self is practice a little every day. That's as simple as it gets. With knitting, since it's something you have to accustom your hands to pick up the manual skill, you just have to push that 10 minutes every day of knitting. Just wherever you are, you can start with a small project that you can bring in your bag. You can fix a specific time in the day, just like before you brush your teeth, you have to do 10 minutes of knitting and then you can brush your teeth. But that's the thing, if you get to practice every day, your hands will get better quite faster. But this is not about getting better faster, it's about getting better full stop. So if you don't practice every day, you're just gonna keep seeing the same mistakes, especially with tension. While if you get to practice just a tiny bit every day, you'll see how much progress you will make. And the fourth tip, and I know you have been hearing this a lot, is learn from your mistakes. I mean, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes will happen. That's just something that happens every day to all of us, whatever we are doing. When we are doing something like following a pattern where you have to count your stitches or you have to make a specific something in a specific point, mistakes will happen. So just don't panic and try to learn for them. And by this, I mean, when you have a mistake, there are two things you can do. You can stop, open your browser, search for that specific mistake and try to see if something or somebody can help you, if there's a written explanation or better yet, a video one that can help you acknowledge and correct your mistake. It will help you immensely. Or the second way is when you find a mistake, stop, call a friend and get help. And it's the way I used, and it has been a boost for my friendship too. And I just think both ways are great because they let you acknowledge your mistake and learn from it instead of just finding a mistake, trying to cover it with your very basic beginner skills and just making something that might be visible in the final creation. This fifth one is the one I talk to more people about. Like everyone I knew that is into knitting or crochet, I always ask them, do you have and do you use Ravelry? You should make a Ravelry account. If you don't have one, it's such a gorgeous website. First of all, it is completely free to sign up and make your profile, and you can use it as a digital journal for all your makings, so you can see the progress you're making, which is pretty neat. But you can also discuss, comment and follow and friendship so many other creatives, and of course it is the database for so many wonderful patterns. Most of them are free, which is extremely wonderfully amazing when you are a beginner, because that means you have just at the point of your fingertips a wide array of choices of things to make. And jumping from that one, you should buy that pattern. Yes, that one I know you've looked at. I know you found something that's great. You love the photos, you love the projects, you loved everything about it. And then you see the price range and you think, maybe you should buy it. That's money well invested, because patterns that have a price have been tested, have been almost all tech edited, have been thought to be best. So they've been designed to be understandable, to be graded for different sizes. Most of them have photos or videos in them, so they will help you get better. By buying a pattern, you can also support a fellow creative just like you. On Ravelry, you can also see what other people made for a specific project and their comments about it, as well as feedbacks and reviews on yarn and patterns, so you can have a better understanding even before downloading the pattern. And my seventh tip, which I don't really apply to myself yet, but it would be read through the pattern. I know lots of people say so, you should buy a pattern, then read through it all, and then start making it. And I'm not there all the way, but I can say that when I do read through all the pattern, it does help me immensely to get a better understanding of the construction of the garment and what I will be making. And so it's like I'm already prepared for the next step, even before I come to it. And on the same note, you should use the resources that are available to you. So when you buy a pattern, and we all know that knitters have this weird lingo all to themselves with lots of abbreviation, and not all of them are understandable to a beginner. So in almost all the patterns, there's a list with the abbreviation and what they mean. And if you can't understand what they mean, even with the abbreviation explained, Google it. Just for the love of everything, Google that, find a video, get to understand what they are meaning. When they say increase M1R, what does it mean? Why it is important to make M1R instead of M1L? You know, it's okay if you don't know. I was a beginner too. The code will get straightforward in time, you will get to understand it, but it's totally okay at the beginning. You can find many helpful resources online or in books. I recently bought The Knitting Companion. It's a book that's literally made for beginners, and it is what the title says. So it's a companion to guide you into how a garment is made when knit, and all these abbreviations, what do they mean, with photos of each specific step to make them. So I always have it on the side when I'm knitting a garment, and if there's something I need, I can look into that. Here we dive into some more controversial opinions. But for my 8th tip, I would say that blocking is your choice. Yes. Lots of people who are starting to knit get to ask me, why should I block? How should I block? Where should I block? And I'm always a bit uncertain into how to answer, because it really does depend on what you made more than how, where, and why you should block it. So there are specific garments that are meant to be blocked to look in a specific way, but not all of them. Some yarns do not even require blocking. So if you're working with acrylic, blocking won't actually do anything to the yarn. And some items do not necessarily require blocking. Like if you knit a beanie for your head and it fits you great after you are casting it off your needles, that's totally fine. You don't have to block it, you can wear it straight away. My tip number 9 is search and find your local yarn store. It's gonna be a place for you to find like-minded individuals, good yarns, sometimes deals, and maybe some friends. You can just hang around your LYS and build a community from that. I know it's not super easy, so you can also look into some craft along or knit nights or other events like that catered to knitters to build a friend group and grow some community. If you don't have anything like that local to you, you can still try to instill the magic of knitting into your friends. By that I mean teaching them to knit, or maybe try to have them make the same projects you are making so you can bounce the ball between each other and grow together. My 10th tip would be give yourself the space and the grace to be a beginner. I mean, first of all, knitting should be about having fun, creating something with your hands, maybe ditching the phone for a few hours. You know, stop doom scrolling, start creating kind of thing. You can make what you want to make, when you want to make it. You can start making friends based off of this. The more you knit, the more you learn. The more you knit, the more you share with others. The more you knit, the more you will be happy with how things fit you. And just as a bonus tip, because I know this will get me some hate, is I think you should start with some good yarn. All the beginners video I watched were saying go and buy the ugliest, cheapest acrylic yarn you can find so you can torture it into something. But you won't. When you get that bad acrylic yarn and you start working with it, it can be bad on your fingers, it can be bad into making, depending on what you're making. If you're making a beanie, it can be bad on your hair. It's gonna get electric, let me tell you. It's not gonna be warm, it's gonna be itchy. You can't really wash it if something happens to it. I mean, I understand the feeling of wanting to start with the lowest investment possible because maybe you don't know if knitting is for you. But when I started, I went to my local yarn shop and I got some baby alpaca in green and yellow, which are my favorite colors. That yarn was so soft and luxurious, it made me want to make something beautiful with it. And as I was creating, I wasn't afraid to stop and fix any mistakes or even to unravel, which is insane in my mind of a beginner. Because I just wanted to make something really great with that yarn because I loved it and I thought it was super, super nice. The thing I would say you can start with a medium thing, nothing too fancy, just get some nice wool or cotton, even better. Cotton is great if you are a beginner because it comes in many, many shades. It's never itchy on your skin. It's a plant-based fiber. We love cotton. Try not to choose a dark color for your first project because dark colors make it more difficult to see where the stitches are and if you make any mistakes. Try to choose a yarn that's a bit thick, like Aran weight or so you can work it a bit quicker and it's gonna give you satisfaction earlier. And lastly, second-hand yarn exists. Yarn swaps happening in the world. You can even host one if you want. You can try to reach out to friends or family and ask if they have any yarn you can try and come up with something with. So yeah, this is everything I would like to have known. Past Nene would have been much grateful to hear these things. So I really hope this helped you in your journey. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments and I'll try to reply. And if you're looking for other beginner-friendly videos, I have lots on my channel. I hope you enjoyed this and see you in the next one.